Good morning, Sonam.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah. Shall I start?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, thank you. A very good morning to all. I, Professor Neeta Shirsat, IQAC Coordinator, IT Department, welcome you all for today's online session on resume building. The objective for today's session are student will understand how to build a resume for career they are seeking. Student will understand what they have been and where they want to go in their career, skills they require to acquire for better placement. With this objective, I would like to introduce our today's speaker, Ms. Sonam Aslekar, Founder Director, VIS Mobotech. Sonam is our one of the proud alumni. Being a distinguished alumnus, Sonam has contributed in many activities for our college. I really appreciate I am very much thankful to Sonam for her support. Sonam has offered internship to the student, conducted various online sessions on skill development and career enhancement for students. Thank you, Sonam. So without taking much time, I request Sonam to take the charge. Thank you. Over to you, Sonam.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I truly feel it is, I have been given this opportunity, so I'm really thankful to our department for letting me interact with all my junior friends. Hi, friends. I hope you all are ready to tackle today's topic that we have, which is resume building. So, if thought otherwise, resume building till date has been thought to be very easy, or it doesn't really require an entire session to be taken. Most of us will feel that way. But if we look from today's point of view, resume building has become a very conscious effort. So, as we progress in our session today, we will understand why it is called as resume building. So, before we start, let us focus on that very important word, which is resume building. And we are not saying resume making. So, why is that? So, practically, we are a group of 50 plus people over here. So, I can pick any one name and I can make a resume for anyone. Practically anyone. If I know your skill sets, I can make a resume. But probably what I make would not align with what vision or what dreams you have for yourself. Okay, so resume is no longer just a document now. It's no longer just a word file that we put in information, we submit, and we'll get selected. There's a lot of competition out there. There are a lot of organizations, some of them who want us, some of the organizations where we don't want to go. Okay, so resume has been that important point in these recent times that we focus more on building or consciously creating a resume rather than just making a word document. Okay, so firstly, let's understand why is this resume so important now. So all of us are working really hard in our colleges, in our graduations, uh, to get our degrees, to score well. Why is that so? We are trying to put in all those efforts to mainly achieve two goals. Okay, so the first goal would be to become a part of an organization which is good. Or for some of you, it would also be that organization is a dream organization. Let's say XYZ is my dream organization. When I pass out from my college, I really want to get campus placed in that organization. Okay, that's one goal, which is, one foremost important point why we focus on building a resume. The second important point is we have to make sure that whatever our education is, we get a job which is relevant to that. Right? So let's say we are a software engineer. You people will graduate in 2 years to become an IT engineer. I am sure none of you want to graduate as an IT engineer yet work in a finance department, right? So resume has to focus or has to make it evident that you are an IT engineer, you are more interested, or rather you are only interested in working in jobs that are related to IT and nothing apart from that unless you want any divergent to it. Okay, so these are the 2 points which are extremely important when we think of making or building a resume. Okay, one, a part of a good organization. Second, jobs relevant to our education. Okay, and that's exactly how our resume should reflect our education, our career choices, and when you start getting experience, when you start becoming a part of one organization and other, that work experience. Okay, so that is why we are more focusing on building a resume, a conscious effort which shows exactly this. Because when you post a resume, or when your resume comes in front of any HR or any organization, you are being introduced to that organization or HR department much before you are personally seen. So your resume is nothing more but your representation. Actually, you would actually be given a chance to tell about yourself or about your choices later. Your resume speaks for you first. Okay, so the resume has to be clear to such an extent that there is no ambiguity related to your education, there is no ambiguity related to your career dreams, and there is no ambiguity related to your past experiences or your project experiences. Okay, so when we say that, there are certain steps to make sure that all of this gets incorporated in our resumes. Okay, so if you Google search, there are n number of templates, ready-made templates. There are options which say we can create an online resume for you. But again, that is making a resume, not building your resume. Your resume has to be your effort. You have to be foremost very focused on what you want to do. Let's say, for example, when you graduate or when you are seeking a campus placement from our college itself, let's say there are three companies. One which is offering a job, let's say in Java development, one which is offering a job in, let's say, mobile development, and one which is offering a job maybe more related towards ERPs or bigger softwares. Okay, so when you step out, when you start thinking about this, you have to be clear first with yourself as to what you want to do. Do you want to become an Android or a mobile developer and continue to be one? Because this is your starting point where you decide what you want your next career graph to look like. There are chances that you enter a company where you first decide that yes, I want to be a mobile developer, I want to be, let's say, a focused Android developer, but later you realize, no, I am more focused with being a web developer. That is fine, but if you keep switching these profiles, your resume doesn't remain consistent, it doesn't remain focused, it doesn't remain strong. So the third time when someone is looking at your resume, they would be confused that this person is really working on so many technologies, what exactly does he want to do? So it is very important that we make sure that our goal is set at the start. I understand being in just the second year, no, you would not be having a clear picture as what to expect, what do you want to do. But once you start thinking from that point of view, once you start getting introduced to various technologies, you will slowly and steadily start having a clear picture in your head as to what you want your career to focus on. Okay, so we will go into looking a resume. I'll show you the template also a little later. But before that, what we need to understand is it is very important that you choose the right choice of words when you are mentioning about yourself in the resume. Okay, so when we say that a resume is a combination of your personal information as well as your educational information, we have to make sure that whatever information you are telling about yourself has to be to the point, because this is a very formal document. When you send it to someone, when you send it across an organization, when you send it someone with an intention of you being selected in that organization, you have to be very careful that you project a professional front about you. Okay, so first most important step is to have an email address which is very formal. Your first name, last name at the rate, let's say, gmail.com. Okay, do not use fancy email addresses because that projects not a very professional front of you. Okay, when we are talking about being professional, your professional approach is seen from the very first line of your resume. Okay, this is very important. Why I am focusing on this part is because there are a lot of, I have personally been in this process of giving my resumes, being campus placed from our college to a point now where I see resumes. Okay, so the transition that I've seen so far is that email addresses which are more professional or other which are professional are the first ones to be picked up by the organization, or as against email addresses which are not that professional or are kept fancy, uh, where the identity of the person is not really that quick to be understood. So that is the very first impression you put on anyone who is reading your resume, because that goes as your first line. Okay, what happens is when a resume gets selected, the most relevant organizations are the one to pick up your resume. Okay, so when they start seeing your resume, they slowly and steadily are also judging you parallelly. They are trying to prepare an image of you, that this person is going to be so and so. This is what I have found out reading in the first couple of lines of the resume. So, you frankly, as I said at the very start of the session, you frankly do not get a chance of making that first impression because your resume does that job for you. So, we have to be absolutely sure that we stick to the extreme professionalism while making a resume. Okay. The second is we use a proper template. What do we mean by a proper template? Template means we have all the important points mentioned in a resume. It should not happen that you have sent a resume or your resume is being uh, read by someone, but they do not have that necessary information about you. So they have to contact you and get that information from you. That leaves a very bad impression. So it is very important that our resume has all the necessary headings, all the necessary information in it at one go, which the person, whoever is trying to read your resume, gets all the information and has a clear picture whether it's a yes or a no. Okay. Third most important point is proper choice of words while mentioning your project information. You have to make sure that you do not give a lot of details, because um, you have to make them feel intrigued. Oh, this person has worked on this project. Okay, so let me just try and get in touch with him to know more, because that then increases your chance of being recognized by the person. At the same time, you have to make sure that you are not giving very less information, which doesn't really give the person who's reading your resume an idea of what this project was about. So it's a very thin line between too much information and too little information, but that has to be met. You have to make sure that you give the exact information about all the projects that you've done. Now, again, when we see a sample resume towards the end of the session, we will understand that what do we mean by that exact information, the information that will force or compel the person who's reading your resume to contact you, to get in touch with you, to interview you. Okay. Then, next important point to be included in an effective resume would be your certifications. Now, in our industry, in the software industry, practically technology is changing at a very rapid rate. Like, uh, there's some XYZ technology in the last month, but today there's an advanced new technology, ABC, that has come up, which is far more effective, which is far more advanced, and yet cost effective. So in such cases, organizations have no choice but have to move to the new technology, leaving back XYZ. So when you are trying to build a resume, for you people, I would say this would be a very good opportunity, because for you it is a clean slate right now. You do not have any burden of sticking to that particular technology so far, because this is your first step, your first first, I would say first step, where you have the chance of deciding how adaptive you want to be. Now there are technologies which are legacy, like Java, C Sharp, .NET. They do not go out of market, never, because they are the base of technologies. But there are technologies which are the necessity of time, which are rapidly changing, and industries are adapting them. So when you are making a choice for yourself, a career choice for yourself, you should always make it a point to check out what's latest in the market. If you have a chance to learn something new about that new technology, please go ahead, do small certification and maintain that certification in your resume. With that, what happens, a person who is reading your resume or who is trying to judge you from your resume understands that this person is adaptive. Tomorrow, if you get selected, when you get selected in the organization, they know that they can trust you with changes that they'll adapt. Okay, because every organization wants people who are easy to adapt, who are easy to change. Someone who is redundant or someone who is very difficult to change would be also a difficult factor for the organization when everyone knows that changes are evident, they are going to be there, unavoidable. Okay, so that's the third point. The fourth and also most important is, if you are doing or have got a chance to do internships, please do mention that in your resume. Internships also add a very good value to making your resume effective. The reason behind this is, as we said, resume is nothing but a document that is your an appeal from you to the organization to show them that you are a fit for that job opportunity. And internship just adds value to it, saying that this person has already been a part of an organization working on so and so technology. So he or she already has an experience of being a part of an organization. Frankly, what happens when an experienced resume comes, which means a person who is already experienced, being has been a part of an organization as an employee, full-time employee, and is trying to switch an organization, let's say, there it is evident because people don't really check that initial information about that person, because they know this is an experienced resume that we've got, we'll just check on the work experience that is there. But when we have a fresher resume, which means like you people, when you would step out of the college, your resumes would be fresher's resume. So over there, a lot of analysis goes on every word that's written on your resume. Okay, so all these additional points like certifications, like internships, like your project details add a lot of weightage to your resume. So we have to make sure that we make the best of these. We have to make sure that we use these sections in our favor, so that, as I said, people, a person who is reading your resume is compelled to get in touch with you, is compelled to interview you. And when an interview is said, your resume has done its job of taking you to that place. Okay, so that is very important. So if we revise all the necessary steps to have an effective resume, first it would be a professional email address. Second, it would be use of proper template, having all the necessary headings into it. Third would be a proper choice of words while mentioning your personal as well as academic information. Fourth would be proper choice of words while mentioning your project information. Fifth, inclusion of certifications of technology of your choice, but which is also popular in the market. And last is any information related to internships. Okay, so these are the must haves every resume should have, ideally, unless like if we can say certifications and internships are optional, they are not a mandatory in a resume, but they do definitely add a lot of weightage to it. Okay, and so that's why it is very important that we make a very conscious decision, or we make a very conscious effort of building a very powerful resume. Okay, now I'll just give you a quick picture like what happens when your resume actually gets selected. Okay, so there, we all know there are a lot of job portals like naukri.com. There are many job portals. So when you upload, let's say you upload your resume on naukri.com, or for that matter for freshers, even if you send across your resume to any organization, your resume is first for bigger organizations, for any organizations, your first resume goes through a search engine. By search engine, we mean your resume is search for those particular technology terms. Okay, all of us know that organizations have certain openings at certain time. Okay, it might not be the case that all openings are there for all organizations at what particular time. If organization 1 has an opening in Java, organization 2 might have an opening in Android. So for that purpose, there's a search engine which searches through your resume for that particular technology word. So when you have those words, or when you have that technology already listed in your resume, it becomes easy for the search engine to grab your resume, to focus on your resume and tell the hiring team that this person already has this. You should have a look into this person's resume. Okay, so that is why it is very important that we mention those technical points, we mention those technology points, technology names in our resume. Okay, when we make a conscious effort like this to build our resume, considering all the 4 5 points that we discussed earlier, we are sure to achieve goals such as our resume getting selected with the most relevant organization. Okay, when your resume gets selected, when it is compelling and effective, chances of you getting the job increases. Ultimately, the efforts that we put in our education, in our graduation, in our college, in writing our resumes is nothing but to get placed, right? So if our resume is built in such a way, it increases the chances of us getting placed. Second is your resume, as we said, is a representation of you much before you enter the organization personally. So you already know that when your resume is selected, when you are being contacted because of your resume, you have already made a good impression over there. Okay, so what gets left is you just making sure that you are actually technically sound, you know what you have written in the resume, and you can speak about it confidently. So that again adds to the chances of you getting placed. And third, when your resume is properly structured, it is properly built, organizations can see the efforts that you've put in. It is very easy to identify resumes that are ready made, that are just quickly copy pasted, and it is easy to understand resumes which have already taken a lot of effort in being made. So, and the people who are judging you from the resume know that they are judging you, know that you have put in effort, so you are serious about what you want in life, and you are also serious about this job opportunity. It is not something that let me give it a try, let me see, if I get it, it is fine, if I get it, if I don't get it, it is still fine. So that thought of yours or that attitude of yours is visible from your resume. So it is important that you show that inclination, you show your uh, working inclination, you show your professionalism right from the first line of your resume. Okay, so like we said, resume should be such that it uh, satisfies your objective of yourself. Okay, so before we look into the actual sample resume, I would just like to give a very simple example. Let's say if I am a graduate, I want to have my career in uh, let's say digital marketing. I know digital marketing is a hype right now, and 10 to 15 years down the line, digital marketing is going to be the only marketing available, because like we have a pandemic today, it might be something else tomorrow, but physical marketing is going to be completely replaced by digital marketing. So when I know, if I know this picture and I want myself to be a part of this digital marketing stream, along with my IT experience, along with my graduation experience, I'll make sure that I have some additional knowledge about at least certain terms like SEO, analytics, SMO, basic terms. I know what it is related to. If I get a chance to do certifications, that is perfect. If I do not get a chance to be certified, if I do not get a chance to do internships in those areas, I would at least make it a point that I have read about these topics, I have equipped myself with the information related to these topics, and I have these terms mentioned in my resume. So when anyone is searching my resume, or if I am going through a search algorithm which is searching for digital marketing and terms, my resume stands out. Okay, so with this example, I am sure it would be clear for you when we say those proper choice of words while mentioning your project information and your technical information. Okay, so let's start seeing a sample resume. Let me show you a sample resume that I have. Um, Ma'am, can I share my screen?
Yes, madam. Yes. Yes, Sonam.
Thank you, ma'am. Um, Just okay. Let me open the screen. Is it visible to all?
Yes, yes, Sonam, it is visible.
Okay, okay. So I have this sample resume with me. Now it's a pretty old resume. Old as in it is one of the resumes which is of a very senior person now. But this is when he was applying as a fresher. Okay, so if you see right from the start, you have these boundaries. You have a proper boundary to the sheet. You have your title which is in bold. So there's no confusion right from your first word that you are intending to professionally approach for that particular role in any organization. Okay, the first section which we see, which is divided by a separator, again very important, we should not be clubbing all the information together in the resume because that becomes very difficult to be read. Secondly, it becomes very difficult for the search engine to find out the words. If two words accidentally get clubbed together, although you have that important word mentioned in your resume, it would not highlight your resume because the word is not readable by the machine or the algorithm. Okay, so document strictly has to be very structured, properly written, a uniform font maintained throughout the document. Wherever there's a heading, it should be bold, it should be underlined. Now these are all subjective points, I would say. Everyone or someone else would have a different thought about this, but important is that you keep projecting your professionalism right from your first line. Okay, now if you see over here, there's a proper you know sorry, with your name you have your title with it, Mr., Miss. You have to make sure that you are making the right choice of words from your first word itself, this being your name. Your email address, again, like we said, very important, have a professional email address. For example, if I have to go, I would have Sonam Aslekar at the rate gmail.com, or Aslekar Sonam. If my name is already taken, I would just reverse it, say last name, first name at the rate gmail.com. Try and avoid to have anything like Aslekar Sonam 123 or anything fancy which drifts you away from being professional. Okay, if your name is already taken as the email address, please make sure you have only your first name or only your last name, whatever is comfortable, but make sure it is extremely professional. Okay, now the second line, if you see, is MSc Computer, which means your highest degree. If you are a B, you write BE Information Technology. But why a highest degree over here? Because these first lines give an entire picture about you to the person who's reading this information. Okay, and then your mobile number. It should be evident that you are waiting for people to be you are waiting to be contacted by the people. Okay, so these 4 lines start your resume, and at the same time, the person who's reading it starts building an image about you in their head. Okay, now the next heading that we have is the career objective. Now this particular part, these 2-3 lines are strictly about you. What is your objective about having a career? Do you want to have a long-term career? Do you want to be a part of an organization? Do you want to freelance? Do you want to start something of your own? Again, if you want to be a freelancer, this part has to reflect that. If you want to be a full-time employee, this part has to reflect that. So career objective is absolutely subjective, absolutely personal, with only your career thoughts in mind. Okay, but at the same time, it should not be more than 3 to 4 lines long. It should not be a long essay. It should be to the point, precise, mentioning your choice of your career. So if we read this, it is to be a part of organization where the management structure recognizes and rewards. So if you read this particular line itself, you will understand that this particular person would not just work for an organization without being recognized. He wants the management to recognize his efforts, which means he will be striving to take more efforts in the future. He would be striving to achieve those promotions, those heights. But it is evident from here, and it is not at all wrong to mention your objectives as long as you make sure it is professional. Okay, as long as you make sure your choice of words for that is very correct. Okay, next objective that this person has is to reward his loyalty, honesty, hard work, and ambition. as an employee. So he is again making clear that he wants to be a full-time employee of the organization by providing growth opportunities and necessary infrastructure that could contribute to the success of company. It is obvious that employees are the backbone of any organization. So if you are being rewarded, the company is going to be rewarded, of course. So this section, career objective, again is very important, where the person who is judging you from your resume understands what you have in your head for yourself. So the clearer the picture you have in your head, the more they will understand that you are focused and you are genuinely interested in the job position. Okay. Now, if you see, we immediately have the academic information or academic qualification, and then we have the key projects. We do not have the key projects first, because when you are applying as a fresher, when you are applying or sending your resume across as a new or fresh college graduate, it is very important for the person to see how you have first scored in your college. Were you serious? Have you scored good? Okay. So uh, the first entry after a career objective is our academic qualification. That too, it is in the descending order. By that we mean we have the latest or um, the highest education background at the top, followed by the next, and then we go to our schooling. Okay, so this person, being a postgraduate student, has first written about post graduation, year of passing, from where, percentage, class, followed by graduation, high school, and 10th. Okay, now this is important because, again, when you pass out, it is important to show whether you are a graduate or an undergraduate or a postgraduate. Okay, so schoolings can come later because these marks are the first ones to be judged. The next part that we have here are the key projects handled. Now, why are these important for a fresher resume? Because when you are a fresher, you technically do not have any work experience to support you. When you have work experience, the prior or your current organization names works for you. But when you are fresher resume, this is what is going to work for you first. Why? Because here are your keywords which your search engine will help in focus your resume ahead, or put your resume ahead, saying that this person already has these key terms over here. Okay, so if you see this, the first key project that this person has done is an online banking with Seed Infotech. Now this is important because this gives your technology details, Java using Struts framework. Okay, now whenever your resume is being searched by a search engine algorithm, it searches for Java or Struts or related languages. So when you have these listed over here, your chances of your resume standing out in the search is more. Okay, so this is where we say the right choice of words for your technology or your project information. You have to make sure you mention all the technologies that you've used. Now let's say, for example, you have a project where you've used C Sharp, but with C Sharp, you have also used MVC as the framework. So make sure that along with just don't write C Sharp.net. Enter C Sharp.net with MVC architecture. So if a search engine algorithm runs for C Sharp, your resume gets selected. If the algorithm runs only for MVC, again your resume gets selected. So this is that thin line which makes sure not more information but not less information either. Okay. The next that we have is the role. So while you were working on this project, what was your role? What did you do? Now again, if you see, the choice of words is more technical. There are no big sentences, there are no elongated long English sentences, but there are just the right words like graphic user interface, GUI, designing, JSP and HTML. Again, a lot of technology has been included here, again, to make sure that the algorithm picks you up for any technology word being searched for. Okay, again, Java code developments, SQL Oracle database. Now if you see, SQL Oracle database precisely has been mentioned in this section with the same intention, resume being highlighted when the algorithm runs. Okay, now with the same institute, this person has got a chance to work on another information another project. Again, if you see, although the technology backgrounds or the technology used is same, his role has not changed, his language of use has not changed, the technology language language, obviously. She has still made it a point to use a separate heading to it, a separate pointer, separating out a new paragraph saying that these are the two projects. So although you must have worked on multiple projects using the same technologies, using the same architectures, please make sure that you have separated out so that the person who's reading your resume understands that there are not just one projects, you have worked on multiple projects. Okay, so again, that strengthens your resume. Now, after you have given your project work, now this so far I would consider as one of the internships or certifications related. No problem if you have college project to back this up. We have this final year project, which is like a real time project because the scope of it is vast. We have real time technologies used in it and it is very professional. So if in case for people who do not have these first two projects or first section of projects handled, make sure that your details get highlighted in this section, the college project work. Okay, because all of us are going to have it. Now here we have the title and platform is your main technology used. Again, if you see Java using NetBeans, both of them are mentioned separately, consciously. Again, role, even if you see now, this role is again very tactically written so that logic, algorithm implementation. We have to make sure, we have to always remember when we write a resume that we are going to be searched by an algorithm first. Okay, bigger organizations where there are lots of resumes coming, people do not have that time to sit and read every resume, so they quickly subject your resumes to algorithms only, and algorithms are going to search you by terms. So again, a very crucial point, make sure you have the right choice of words. In role also, if you see, multi-signature scheme for sending messages, individual signers, etc. But again, the right choice of words over here. Now you have to make sure um, when we have personally worked on a college project, we have a lot of things to mention. I've done this also, I've done that also, I've done this also. Always remember, maintain that thin line, not more information, but not too little also. Mostly what happens is I've seen a lot of resumes where there is a lot of information written. I have done designing, I've done reporting, I've done documentation, I have done etc etc. Now if you do not want to be a part of a documentation team, do not mention it in the resume. When you get a chance to present yourself personally, tell them personally, I was also part of this, I've also done this. But if you want your resume, if you want to have that focused choice of career for yourself, please make sure that you have the terms that are required only. So if you want to say I want a career in designing, I'll make sure that I write that my role was to be a graphic user designer, I have designed an interface for this. Okay, so that choice of words which aligns you with your career choice has to be mentioned in the role. Do not enter a lot of irrelevant details. Although they are relevant for you, it might not be relevant from the resume reader's point of view. Okay, last section after that we have, again, if you have multiple college projects which are in good real time technologies, please do mention them over here. Now, this college project work was the main BE project, but if you have any smaller projects but which do have a good market background, I would say, or if they can be relevant to the current market, please do mention them in the decreasing order. Of course, the first BE project goes to the top, followed by your other projects. Or what you can do is, if this is your main project, after this you can put a table saying you have a third year project in this, second year in this, but do mention that project work, additional work, which emphasizes that you have worked with technology when or if and when given a chance to be a part of an organization, you will be quick enough to learn that language or equip yourself with the knowledge and start working, which also means that you will be sooner or later beneficial to the organization. Because from an organizational point, if we see, if a longer learning curve becomes evident from your resume, if it shows that oh my god, if this person is selected in the organization, but he or she is going to take a lot of time to start becoming beneficial to the organization, your resume will be pushed backwards in the line. But if the reader understands or feels that this person is definitely eager to learn, has had not that not that big scale but a small scale hands-on with the technology, and a little knowledge transfer will definitely make this person immediately useful to the organization, your chances of being pulled up from the line increases. Okay. The next section that we have is the certifications. Like I said, certifications, internships add more weightage to your resume. Now, if you have done any certifications, please do mention over here. Even if your certifications are not complete, they are in progress, while you are sending this resume, mention it over here saying that like this is the certification course from this and this institute in this particular course or in this particular language, and you can, in the bracket, you can mention the end date of that certification or end date of that course, so that the organization again understands that you are in the process of learning this language, or you are being trained, and they can definitely still consider your resume because they know after a certain time you will be equipped with its knowledge. Okay. And the same section, if you see, has been introduced here with the internship. Now, if you have done a long-term internship with any company, let's say 6 months and onwards, you can make a separate section for it, mentioning all the details of work that you've done in those internships. If you are working on a single project, like we have in the college project work, make a separate block like this under internships, and make sure that you write all your technology related things over there, your roles over there, and if there's any other new technology that you've learned, if there's new project information, please do mention it in the ma'am, I'm so sorry to disturb you. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, Sonam. Yes,
Hello?
very much clear. Yeah.
I am right. Yeah. Okay, ma'am. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what I was saying was this. Yes. So what happened? Ma'am, is my screen properly visible?
Some
Zooming in there.
disturbances are there. Lot many windows are open right now. Yeah.
Ma'am, I'll just stop presenting and start again.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, is it visible?
Now the window is visible. Yeah. Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. All right. So what we were saying was, if you have internship or long-term internship, or if you have a considerable amount of data to be included under internship, please make a separate block to it, like certifications. Let it stand out. Let it be more highlighted in your resume, because internships, like I said, is a very big contributing factor when an organization decides to hire you, because when they already know you have been not as a permanent employee, but to some extent you've been a part of an organization, they know you have the capability to understand the organizational structures and start working immediately. So more I would say, even 4 months in ahead, please make a separate section for internship and include all the necessary data like this: the title of the project, the technology that you've used, your role while doing that, and the necessary terms that will make your resume stand out. Okay. And the last thing we have is the personal details. Now this is all your relevant information. Over here I would say language known can be the most important point, because these days the entire world is connected digitally. You if you have an extra language knowledge with you, for example, if I am an organization who's hiring, I am looking at the resumes, and I have a client who's from Germany. Now, I have three resumes. One of them is equipped with the technology, or all three are equipped with the technology I have, but only one of them stands out with a language known German. Sorry. I know that this resume, if selected, this person, if selected, is going to be an additional benefit for me, because with the German language, I can also ask the person to communicate with my client in Germany. Okay, so again, if you have any additional languages apart from the basics which you have already learned, any language which can help you again get stand out or again be more highlighted from the crowd, please mention it over here. Okay, now this particular point, current address, I have specifically not blurred it out, because you do not need to put this. You do not need to put this. Now this current address is not something that would be needed from your resume, because people would not write a post letter to you, or they would not come and visit your place, obviously. So this information again is that particular line when you enter a lot more details about yourself. Don't do that. Don't get carried away. This current address is not required. If you want people to know your place of living, you can just mention the city. Okay, like nationality is Indian, you can just mention your city of living, Pune. That's it. You don't need your exact address, whether you live in a bungalow or a society or a flat. Not needed. Okay, and the last is your declaration. Now this, from legal point of view, is information, because you are responsible for whatever information you have written in your resume. So tomorrow, if you have a lot of things written in your resume but you are not equipped with that knowledge, the blame is going to be on you. Meaning, if when your resume gets selected, and I hope with all the steps that we've mentioned, the chances of being selected increases. So by the time your reader reaches here, when you have the right set of information included in the topic, you are going to get selected. Okay, so when you get a chance to present yourself in front of the interviewer, and he asks you about a particular technology which you say, I don't know, I haven't worked about, but you have already mentioned it in your resume, it shows a very deceptive image of you. Okay, which means you do not know either what you have worked with, you were not serious when you were doing, or when you were building your resume, or third, the information that you have put in your resume might be false. There's no guarantee that the rest of the information might be correct. So this particular section shows that you know what you've written in your resume, and you take the entire responsibility of the information being true. Okay, so this declaration becomes important. And when the rest of your when you yourself have put in efforts of building your resume, you know what has got into this resume, you have idea of all the fields you have worked in, for the technologies that you've mentioned, you know that you have actually worked on it, you know things about it. And so when you start projecting yourself with the help of your resume, whatever you say gets aligned with your document, and it becomes clear that this person is true and says what this person has already done. Okay, uh, before we conclude this, I would like to tell you that when we say technology, mention details of technology over here, I can understand it can become intimidating, because technology is vast. You might have just worked on a very small proportion of it. Even in bigger organization, it does happen that the technology name is big, but when you are actually part of the organization, part of that project, you work on a very small part of the technology, and it is technically not at all feasible to be aware of the entire technology. It is vast, it is huge, and no person can be completely equipped with that entire technology unless you are one of those who has written that language. Okay, which is not true, not that common either. So that is fine. Make sure you have written only those things which you know about. If I do not know anything about Xamarin, I have not worked on Xamarin, and yet I mentioned that in the resume, and I plan to just read the stuff and then go for the interview, I am surely going to fall on my face, because I have not worked, and technology is not going to be that easy for me to understand because I have nothing to do with it. At the same time, if I have worked on a very small portion, let's say just to just to design an Android application. I will write, I have only been a part of designing Android application. I would never say I was a part of core functionality of Android. Okay, because although we know Android, the code for Android gets written in Java, the way of writing that code is entirely different. If you've got a chance to see, or when you get a chance to see, you will understand. Although it's Java, the way of writing code is entirely different than what you write in a normal Java application. So if I write that Java, that I've written, I've been a core part of that core team writing that Java functionality, again, that is going to sink me. It is not going to help me, not going to stand out. But that only part of that I have written, only the front end application for Android, and people would say, okay, she's been a part of only a small part of the project, but whatever I have done, I know. That confidence makes you, more applicable for the job, and definitely your chances of being selected increase by leaps and bounds. So make sure while building your resume, you do not put in information that is not related to you, or information, technology information. There are a lot of people who have seen write a very attractive resume with almost all technologies included in the resume. Frankly, with a fresher's resume, that is not going to be true, because when you are a fresher, everybody knows that you have, or we all have, just one project, which is the end project, or our B project, wherein we actually get a chance to build that entire project cycle. Okay, so please do not put in false information. Please do not put in information which is hypothetical, because whoever is reading your resume is going to be an experienced person. So do not take that person's knowledge for granted. And thirdly, make sure that you, if you have actually done a lot of work, if you have actually put in a lot of effort to bring that value to your resume, which might look like on the document too good to be true, that's fine. Please add into it. Make sure you are able to answer that in front of the interviews. Okay. So, ma'am, I'll stop sharing now. That's all I had to present. I hope all points or our goals that we had with this session, I have covered them. And if there are any questions, ma'am, can we have them over chat, or maybe if they want to ask?
Yeah, online in online session also, I request the student to ask queries if they have you have any queries in your mind. You can ask right now.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Prajakta. Tell
I'm
me.
Rajita. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask one thing. It was a very informative lecture, but I've been hearing about cover letters along with resumes. So, how important is that?
Yeah. So, hi, Prajakta. Thank you for your question. The thing is, now, like I said, there are a lot of templates, lot of themes and patterns coming up into resume building. Cover letter again is nothing but putting in those vital information that will help your resume, be picked up from that competition when a search engine algorithm is processing you. Okay, so cover letter is an additional additional decoration. Definitely go for it, but I would say if your resume is already equipped with the necessary things like we discussed, to make it effective, a cover letter would more or less be doing the same job. Or rather, I would say, normally in what the situation that I have seen, the scenarios that I have seen, I would say that cover letters are mostly ignored, because when you have a document like resume representing you, telling your information, I don't really see a chance to spend my time reading your cover letter. Or again, I would say, if you have time, if you want to go ahead and show your additional information, show your additional efforts that you've put in, please go ahead, make a cover letter. But also make sure that since you have a cover letter, do not ignore the fact that your resume needs all these factors also. I hope I've sorted your query, Prajakta.
Yes, yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes. Is there any query from student side?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
I am Achal. I wanted to ask that usually which foreign language do companies prefer, like German or Japanese?
That entire depends, Achal, on the domain that you're targeting. By that I mean, for example, if you are looking to enter an automotive domain, we all know that Europe, Germany is the biggest market for these domains. But on the other hand, if you are targeting for companies or organizations which are focusing mainly on um, uh, you know, mainly on domains related to ERPs or softwares, then I would say Japan is the growing market. So it would entirely depend on what particular domain you are targeting. Okay, but like I said, it is impossible for determining that particular factor for a field like us. IT field is, very vast, and you never know which opportunity might have been started where, because it's a big global market. So I would say go with your gut, see what you are more interested in doing, whether you are more interested in doing Japanese language or German language. Anything when mentioned in your resume is going to be that additional T factor for you to, pick you up from that crowd. Okay, but if
Okay,
you,
ma'am.
yeah, if you want to be more focused, if you want to have that more perfect information, then you will have to zero on the domain that you want. Okay, and then decide
O-
on the language.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Achal.
Yes, any queries from student side? So I hope all queries are solved. Okay, so let's conclude with the session. So literally amazing. Thank you, Sonam, for conducting such a wonderful session on resume building. I
Thank you,
hope
ma'am.
all the doubts related to the resume building and resume writing are clear now for the students. With perfect guidelines provided by Sonam, now I hope all students will definitely plan their goals so that effective resume will be built by students. Thank you so much, Sonam, for giving us time. Um, I would like to thank uh, Professor MP Mahajan, Madam, Dean IQAC Coordinator, for suggesting this topic. Also, I would like to thank Ranjekar Madam, IQAC Coordinator, Electrical Department, for attending session and providing guidelines in organizing this session. Uh, Thank you, Dr. S. A. Mahajan, Sir, HOD IT, for supporting in organizing such an important session for students. Lastly, thank you, students, for patiently listening and asking questions. All students kindly fill feedback. I have provided you the link in the chat box to fill the feedback. This feedback is mandatory, so kindly fill the feedback. Okay. So now
Thank you,
I hope
ma'am,
all, yeah, now I
for
hope
giving
that
me this
all the
opportunity.
objectives and outcomes with which we have conducted this session is clear to all. Outcomes we have kept in our mind that the outcomes after successful completion of this session, student will be able to build the resume based on the market needs and target skills they require to get the better career. Second outcome, we were expecting that managing curricular, co-curricular and extracurricular activities to add weightage to the resume and write an effective resume. That was that were the outcomes that we were expecting. I hope everything is clear to you students now. And thank you all for attending the session. Thank you so much, Sonam, for an amazing and wonderful session for our students and for staff also. Thank you. So with this, I declare that session is over. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.